So you're moving to Baton Rouge and you're wondering, what's the cost of living there? Well, it's the South. Is it more expensive? Is it cheaper? Well, I got you covered. Howdy everyone, my name is Shawn G. I'm a realtor here in the greater Baton Rouge area. In today's video, we're gonna be taking a look at the cost of living in Baton Rouge. If you're looking to move here, feel free to reach out. I'd love to be a resource in any way. I'm gonna leave all my contact information in the description down below. And without further ado, let's jump into the video. So when looking at the cost of living in an area, we're gonna be taking a look at a couple different categories. And these main categories affect your everyday life. So we're gonna be looking at housing, we're gonna be looking at energy and utilities, we're also gonna be looking at transportation, and of course, food. We're also gonna be taking this information and comparing it to the rest of the country. So Baton Rouge is in the South, and there's a lot to think about when it comes to that. In general, when people think about living in the South, they usually think it's cheaper, way more affordable, and for the most part that is true, but there may be some things here that might surprise you. All right, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is housing, and Baton Rouge actually has one of the more affordable markets when it comes to housing. At the time of making this video, the median sales price in Baton Rouge is $263,000. Comparing that to the median sales price in the United States, which is at $431,000. Now, we are significantly cheaper than the national average, which is amazing, but compared to the rest of the state, we're actually more expensive. According to Zillow, Louisiana has a median sales price of around $210,000. Now, keep in mind, this is very dependent on where you're living in Baton Rouge. There are certain areas, of course, in luxury neighborhoods where that number skyrockets, and there's some areas where it's significantly cheaper. Also, something to consider is if you're living in the greater Baton Rouge area, there's a couple of different parts that make it up. So we also have Ascension Parish and we have Livingston Parish. So for example, you're gonna find a few cities in Livingston Parish that are way more affordable than Baton Rouge. Like Denham Springs. In Denham Springs, we have a median sales price of about $242,000. Now, on the flip side, in Prairieville, which is in Ascension Parish, Prairieville is one of the more expensive suburbs. Prairieville's median sales price was a little under $325,000. Now, if you're looking to rent in the greater Baton Rouge area, these are going to be some interesting numbers to look at as well. For an apartment around 951 square feet, you're looking at around $1,229 per month. Now, this is significantly lower than what the national average is, which is around $1,700 a month for around an 897 square foot apartment. Now, obviously, this is also dependent on where you're living. Typically, as a rule of thumb, I've always seen the rents in Baton Rouge around $1 per square foot when it comes to housing. Now, obviously, this is going to switch up when you get into more competitive and desirable areas. For example, near LSU, kind of off Burbank, there's a ton of student housing there. There's some townhomes and some houses that are just really desirable, ton of restaurants, and there's a lot of things to do. For a 3-bed or a 4-bed, you can easily be looking around $2,300 and up. So in general, something to keep in mind, for housing, Baton Rouge is lower than the national average. All right, so let's take a look at our energy and utilities. For our gas prices, we're gonna be looking at gasprices.aaa.com. So Louisiana actually has some lower gas prices. We're about $2.70 per gallon, while the national average is about $3.10. Louisiana's electricity is lower as well. We're about 31% lower than the national average, with ours being at 12 cents kilowatt per hour, while the national average is at 18 cents kilowatt per hour. And looking at payscale.com, overall utilities per month could be looking around $130. And obviously this could be higher or lower depending on your usage, the size of your home, and the kind of home you have. So obviously a lot of popular homes are on slab, but if you're on a home that is pier and beam style, that is raised, then your energy consumption is likely going to be higher because it takes longer to cool down houses and whatnot. If you're looking to buy a house, I usually ask the seller if they have any old energy bills that they're willing to share, so that way you get a really good idea of what your monthly payments are going to be. All right, so let's talk about transportation, and this one's going to get interesting. As far as transportation, you're really going to need a car out here in Baton Rouge. It's really difficult to get around without one. Things are kind of spread apart, and as far as like really walkable neighborhoods where things are just closer, businesses are easily accessible, it's not as common down here. There are a few spots like in mid-city and downtown, but not too much outside of that. But if you are focused on using public transportation, CATS, C-A-T-S, is our main public transportation system. Here are the rates if you're planning on using CATS. So for a 7-day pass, it's about $19. 15-day pass, $24.50. For a 31-day pass, it's about $56, so that's pretty much per month. And for a single day pass, it's about $1.75 for adults. Now let's talk about car insurance. If you didn't know, Louisiana has some of the highest car insurance rates in the country. And if you're a native Louisianian, you know why, okay? You spend a day on the roads, you might pop a blood vessel or something. And as you're driving around Baton Rouge, New Orleans, you're looking at the billboards, you might go, there's a lot of personal injury lawyers. So according to insure.com, the average premium for car insurance in Louisiana is at $2,546 per year or $212 per month, while the national average is at $1,682. Make sure to buckle up. And lastly, let's talk about food. Now, in Baton Rouge, it really depends on where you're going to be going to do groceries. Some of the more popular grocery stores here are Walmart, Target. We also have an Albertsons, and of course, Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. But we only have one Whole Foods and we only have one Trader Joe's. So if you live like across town and not too close off like South Acadian and Perkins, then you're gonna have to, trek pretty far to get your Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. Now, according to payscale.com, here are some of the average prices for these items. Now, take these with a grain of salt. It's not 100% accurate or anything like that, but this is what we can go off of. For a loaf of bread, it's $3.88. Gallon of milk, it's about $2.43. Carton of eggs, $2.25. Bunch of bananas, $3.36, and a hamburger for $5.14. It depends on where you're getting that hamburger. I don't know if that's including the bun and the lettuce and the tomato or anything like that. That might just be the ground patty. It's probably the ground patty. All right, so overall, we do have a lower cost of living here in the greater Baton Rouge area. As you're making your decision to come down here, something of note is it's much easier to achieve home ownership down here, but at the same time, car insurance rates are some of the highest in the country. Well, y'all, I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you have any questions or if you're looking to buy or sell in the greater Baton Rouge area, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to help in any way. Thanks for watching. Peace.